Hi, so my name is Jeffrey Sykes. I am the Director of Technical Operations at VML. It's a contemporary marketing agency, and my team partners with development and QA and InfoSec to deliver connected consumer experiences. So today I want to talk about culture, and we're going to use the Hunger Games as a way to step into some of the things that I think can happen with shaping culture, both from the bottom and top. So, you may think that the Hunger Games is just a story about Katniss Everdeen, but it's not. It's actually a story about a story, and it's a story that's used to dominate others and to enforce and create a social order. The Hunger Games is a severely twisted up story, if you think about it, right? A military victor celebrates its military victory by forcing the losers annually to participate in televised child sacrifice, which actually leads to several practices, right? They have the reaping where they select the children. They have the introduction of the children where everyone sees it on television. They have the actual competition where the children kill each other. And finally, the celebration of a winner who is graciously spared from further pain, as if they haven't experienced enough. But the story in the 74th Annual Games, spoiler alert, is subverted when the last two participants decide rather than kill each other, they would rather die. So they're going to commit double suicide, and by doing so, they subvert the entire narrative of the whole thing, which unmasks the biggest lie that anyone can tell anyone else, which is that this is the way we've always done things. In the Hunger Games, they say it this way: may the odds be ever in your favor. So what we have to do then is look for different stories. Stories are important because they embody the practices and the shared history of people. And so when we look for stories, they can open up new ways for us to go and different ways for us to interact with each other. Which is partially why the Phoenix Project is such an important book. It's a transformational book in which the protagonist learns that the dominant stories of IT are not the only stories. There are different stories he can learn, and those can change and open up new ways for him to be. And this has direct advantages over abstract lists of values. Values, by themselves, can be abstract and hard to understand how they can be instantiated, how they can be implemented inside of your culture, and practices without that can be problematic as well. Alistair McIntyre, a philosopher, says it this way. He says, I can only answer the question, what am I to do, if I can answer the prior questions of what story or stories do I find myself a part. So when we're thinking about that, there are some tyrannical stories that I think have to go away. And these stories are antithetical to developing a DevOps culture. And so I want to talk about those now. So the first one I want to talk about is the tyranny of the immediate, right? We've all seen this. We don't have any time to do anything. We just have to keep things going, right? We have no time to fix it. We just have to keep acting right away. Instead, we need to tell stories about prioritization and how prioritizing can make long-term improvements. There's also the story of the exception, right? We think like the cattle versus pets kind of thing. The rules don't apply to me. My stuff is special. I can't do that. Whatever. Sorry. That was my whiny developer voice. And so instead of that, we can tell stories about generalizable patterns. There's also the tyranny of the exceptional. We need a hero to save us. This is the person that works long hours and does amazing things to make everything better, right? Instead, what if you tell stories about teams that work together in sustainable ways to make improvements? There's also the tyranny of the adversary. Some people see sharks and think enemies. I see them and think friends. And so anyway, we see dev or ops and we say, those people are real enemies. We can't really work with them. Instead, what if we tell stories about empathy where we begin to understand other people's problems? And what about the final one I want to talk today is the tyranny of fatalism, which is all our projects are always over budget. It's never going to change. Things will never get better, right? Instead of that, we have to tell stories about small incremental improvements. And then finally, or not finally, you may be the only person in this story that can end up changing. Now, I want to be careful here and say that I'm not advocating that anyone stay in abusive situations or that you risk personal burnout. But when everybody else won't change, you may still have the option to change. And how you challenge those stories, how you subvert those narratives is as important as what you do. You may, by acting the same way as others, become a different flavor of the same poison that you're rejecting. And finally, I think that one of the cardinal values or virtues of DevOps is actually patience. Changing the stories you tell is an incremental process that takes a long time. And so patience is key to any kind of change, whether you're doing it from the top or the bottom. And finally, the odds are never going to be in your favor unless you re-examine the stories that shape you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.